Hey, David and Marshall, how are you guys?
Doing
Hey,
well, doing
okay.
well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
glad to be here. How about you?
Good, doing good, doing good. Yeah, so
I,
we were,
I don't I don't feel as fancy as you with that background. I just got
Yeah.
like a whiteboard behind me. You're like doing it.
oh, I wanted to be prepared for this, so looking forward to this. I was like, let me prepare a little bit. So yeah, well, good to see you guys here. Obviously, we wanted to know a little bit more about you guys, kind of get to know you. I'm sure there's a lot of audience that are going to be working with you, and then they want to kind of get to know you too. So, pretty much, I just wanted to start from there for you both, David and Marshall. I think the best question to ask both of you is if you can share a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
And David,
Marshall,
you can
go
start.
for
Oh, okay,
All
Marshall.
right.
All right.
Yeah. So me and David are pretty similar in our thinking, but we didn't start there, right? So like David
Hmm.
is more kind of. I don't think he's ever had a real job. I don't know. He might think differently. I've worked at oil and gas companies that had 50,000 employees. I've helped grow small businesses, that just had 5 or 10.
Hmm.
And then, basically that's kind of my background was just, I always liked entrepreneurial things, but didn't necessarily take the step. And then, um, you know, just with knowing David, and everything like that, we kind of got into it. And so,
Hmm.
I started and I was single at the time, but now I'm married with 2 kids. I got 2 beautiful daughters. And, you know, I've kind of got a pretty diverse background. I kind of know a little bit of everything, maybe don't know a whole lot about anything. So I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but I've been in oil and gas. I've been in chemical distribution. I've been in the financial services,
Nice.
and then we started the pool company now 6 7 years ago,
Hmm.
and but then also enjoy things like real estate and kind of all over the place. And so
Cool.
we'll get in a little, I'm sure, a little bit more into why the pool industry, but it was just, it's definitely one of those things that I just always wanted to, you know my dad always told me, is like, the guys that are always that achieve true wealth are the guys that end up working for themselves.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of always put in me. Now he worked for the same company for like 42 years or something. So
Oh, wow.
and I think that's part of it, is he just kind of he saw the people around him, and he's like, you've got to kind of do your own thing if you want to achieve the things that you want to do.
That's
So I
true.
did.
That's awesome. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing now with this program to basically get more people to kind of do the same exact thing,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Great
So
time
that
to do it.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, David, a little bit more about yourself as well.
Sure. Yeah. Um, let's see. So I guess kind of some helpful background as I've had a bunch of businesses over the years and still do, always for better or worse. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Um,
Okay.
but it's um, kind of started my career, if you will, like right out of college, flipping houses. Like did a few through college, did some after college, um, and quickly found out, for anybody who may have tried that, you'll agree that if you're going to survive in that world, you got to learn how to market pretty quickly. Like you got to be able to generate your own deal flow, right?
Of course.
So sort of a self-taught direct response marketer, frankly, not because I really wanted to learn it, but so much as I wanted to like eat and have a place to live. So
Okay.
it was more a function of necessity, kind of learning marketing to be able to survive. Um, and actually was doing that up until kind of the financial crisis, so like 2007, 2008.
Hmm.
And it was this weird time where I had a couple deals that were going on. I kind of got stuck in them because I didn't have, nobody could buy a house. So even though people wanted to buy these properties from me, they couldn't get a mortgage. So
Oh,
um, ended up, thank the Lord, kind of was able to eventually get out of those deals. But frankly, I kind of learned the lesson in that of, and I would assume anybody who's either like a straight commission type of life or is does these project based deals, they'll probably be able to relate to this. I was in this weird position where on flipping these properties, kind of this project-based income, it was great money when it came, but you never really knew, like, does this money have to last me for a week or a month or 6 months? Like, when's the next one coming? I don't really know. And so kind of through that, I sort of made the decision that I didn't want to build another business that didn't have kind of continuity, stable, recurring revenue income.
Okay.
I'd done that once and did okay with it, but it's just not a enjoyable, good lifestyle, frankly. Thank you. Like to Marshall's point, like I was single at the time. Now I'm married. I have 3 kids. Like I need to be able to budget, right? Like I mean, all of that kind of stuff is not doable if you don't know. Yeah, right. It's like you don't know. It's impossible to do this, right? Where it was this weird position where I was making good money, but I like felt guilty eating at Chick-fil-A for $7 because I was like, I might need this money in 6 months if I don't get another deal, but between now and then.
True.
And so really because of that, sort of reoriented all of my kind of business life around building recurring revenue. So that sort of became my focus because I didn't have it and I didn't want to live without it again. And so that's kind of the backstory on that. So then I just started kind of looking around, looking for other businesses, looking for opportunity, frankly, just sort of seeing what was out there. So I was checking out businesses to buy. I was checking out businesses to start. I was doing kind of industry analysis on a whole bunch of different things. And kind of while all that was going on, Marshall and I, we're friends. We've been friends for a long time through church, actually, is where we met. We had mutual friends growing up, but we never really knew each other. So after college, he and I sort of reconnected through a mutual friend by going to the same church. And so we would get together and have breakfast and just kind of talk life and business and investments and that kind of stuff. And sort of hoped eventually that we might find an opportunity that made sense to do together, but just hadn't really found it at the time. So we were looking at, like I said, a lot of different things. So we were kind of just seeing what was out there that met the criteria of high margin, recurring revenue. It has to have obviously some opportunity in the market, that kind of thing. So that's sort of how we started. And in the process of that, I honestly don't even remember how we came across the pool industry in the first place, because neither one of us have any background in it whatsoever. My parents didn't own a pool growing up. I've never touched a pool till we owned a pool company. And I think Marshall's the same way. It's not like we have some background or history in it that led us into it. It was some combination of looking at businesses to buy for sale, looking at financials of a bunch of different businesses, where we said, okay, this could make sense as an opportunity to try. But we've between the two of us, we've got like a marketing and kind of like a chemical distribution side of things. Maybe we can put something together to leverage both of those skill sets in this space. So that's kind of how we started. So we just said, okay, well, frankly, we didn't know for sure if it was going to start a business, because there was as equal as likelihood that we try it and it flops and it doesn't work. So we said, okay, well, let's do some testing in this market and see if it's a business that makes sense to do. Let's see if the financials that we've seen actually play out in real life. Can we try a few things to acquire clients? And so we tested a whole lot of stuff in specifically around this business. We did, I think our initial marketing campaigns, we did like 5 or 6 different variations of it to see what worked. That's just sort of standard direct response best practice. That's what you do. That's how you try something, right? And so we tried it, and really over the course of say 6 months to a year, figured out a whole lot of stuff that doesn't work, that's a total waste of time and money. But we figured out a handful of things that work extremely well. They work predictably, consistently, year in, year out. It's not seasonal. They just consistently generate new clients, and these clients have a great lifetime value. So that was kind of the thought process of going into this business, was basically, okay, let's say if a client's paying you, just to make the math easy, say a client's paying you $150 a month, that's $1,800 a year. Say you only keep them for 3 years, which that's on average in the industry, that's probably low. But let's say you only keep them for 3 years, 3 years at $1,800 a year. I mean, that's over
That's
five
amazing.
grand.
Yeah.
That's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And so, especially if you're doing the service yourself, because of that 5 grand, of that 5,400 bucks, whatever that comes out to, I mean, your net margin on that's probably over 4,000. So it's really,
Yeah.
what can you come out to where one client is worth $4, 5, 6, $10,000 net to you over X number of years, however long you can keep a client.
Yeah.
And so really the kind of the math behind the business is what appealed to us and made us say, I think there's an opportunity here. And so let's try it. And like I said, after some trial and error for quite a while, figured out some things that worked. And that enabled us to then, over the course of a couple of years, go from zero, no accounts, no industry background, to build one of the largest pool companies in our area in literally a 10% of the time that any of the other older companies in the area have been in
Wow.
business.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it was kind of a wild ride, to be honest. And we didn't, I mean, in hindsight, we couldn't have predicted it, but
yeah.
it's been a fun ride. So
No, that's amazing.
sorry
Actually,
for my long-winded answer.
no, it's actually really good because it actually transitioned into the second question that I was going to ask you guys about the journey that you guys had with the pool business, and you started off, and it seems like, when doing the math in my head, it seems like it's something like where you're almost making like 70 to 80% of the margins of
Yeah,
what you're
that's
putting
right.
in, right? So it's
That's
it's it's
exactly
ridiculous,
right.
right? So that's pretty big, and so it means like, so you went through the learning curve of probably a year or two of fixing out all these little bugs, and once you kind of got that secret recipe, after that it was just gravy, right?
Yeah, I mean that's really it. Is we kind of figured out a formula that worked and worked consistently, to the point that we literally, our first employee, basically after a year of when we kind of finally had all the pieces together,
Hmm.
he said, "Hey, can I take your recipe book and move to Dallas?" So we're in the Houston area. So can I move
Hmm.
to Dallas? A 4-hour drive, basically. Can I move up there, follow your recipe book, and build my own business?
Yeah,
And at the time, we said we kind of thought, okay, this probably would work in other areas, but we didn't really know. And so that was sort of our first test of, does this formula for success that we've ended up with, does this work in other places? And
yeah,
so it got proven out there. He's got a very big, stable, successful business. And then over, the year or two after that, we had other employees and friends and family who said, "Hey, what are y'all doing over there? Can
yeah.
I do that in Austin? Can I do that in another part of Houston? Can I do that in Orlando?" Right? That sort of started happening organically, just because we had people who saw what we had done in that space, and no one's ever done it before. So
That's awesome.
um, so
Yeah,
we sort of started what we're doing now with training people and helping them become pool professionals in the area, build an incredible high margin recurring revenue business. We sort of started doing that indirectly, informally, for all these other people who had been asking us about it over a course of a couple of years.
that's awesome. Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and then just to kind of, Marshall, just to get you into the conversation, I wanted to also know, like, you did really well with your personal business, and I know you were telling me some ridiculous amount of figures. You guys actually made it into a seven-figure business, right?
Well, yeah, and I think probably taking a step back also is just because we deal with people like that are in our program that come from all walks of life, right? So it's like, it's easy to look at us on this side of the
Mm-hmm.
seven-figure business and go, I mean, they just they hit the ground running, and everything just worked, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's like the overnight success, right? Everyone's always like, oh, he's an
Yeah,
overnight success that took 20
exactly.
years, right? I mean, and so, and I say that because when Dave was talking about like not having pools, all that kind of stuff, I mean, one of the best stories I think of us is that, when we did marketing to start, and we got some clients that started calling us, and frankly, they started paying us before we even had a bank account or really anything. You know, it was me, David, and we had a couple employees, and you know, basically when I say employees, they were just friends of ours. David mentioned them. You know, that you know, we kind of had a gentleman's agreement. It was like, if we get some jobs, you can do them, right? I mean, that's really what it was. It wasn't like, hey, like we're gonna go outlay an employee. It was more just kind of like, hey, let's just see what happens. And so we get these clients, and we end up in the backyard of, you know, a $700,000 house, and we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, and so it's like, I mean, we were literally like, you know, it's not like, hey man, we just figured it out. I'm just so super sophisticated.
Right.
Yeah.
We were in the backyard. We couldn't figure out how to turn the pool pump on. We had to call like the local pool store, which would have been a competitor, and been like, hey, we're here, you know, at our house. You know, like, how do I turn a pump on? And they were like, push the button. And it's like, okay, yeah, great.
We'll try that. Great idea.
Which button? Which button is that? Is that like does it say push here? You know, we needed that like Office Depot easy button, right? Like, just tell me what to do. You know, and I always joke is like, that's the cleanest pool that's ever been cleaned in the history of mankind. Because frankly, it's just you know, there was 5 of us out there cleaning for 2 hours, you know, that just completely, you know, with a toothbrush. And, you know, we fast forward, and when we actually exited the business, I mean, 6 years later, the guy's a client, right? I mean, and so, I mean, he didn't know he was number one, you know, and so, you know, and the reason why I put that is because, like, yeah, the success stories and all that are great, but like part of the program and the value of us is that we did things that weren't right? And so, like, I mean, we tell you things that you don't do. Don't waste your money on that, or, you know, guys, I understand that you don't know how to clean a pool. We didn't have any clue. Like, I mean, we literally knew nothing about anything. You know, and so you can really start. That's the value of the industry and the program is you can, whether you've got a successful business right now in the industry, or you know, you hadn't even ever thought about this before. It's something that you are capable of doing if you want to, right? And you put the effort and the desire towards it, you can make a different life for yourself. And you know, it takes a little bit of work and learning some things, but it's not, at the end of the day, it's also not like, you're not Elon Musk flying rockets into the moon or Mars. You know, it's cleaning pools, and people pay a lot for it. So, you know, that's, you know, providing a little bit more context before is like, at the ground level, it's like, you know, looking back, it's like, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're always like tinkering and trying to improve things. And then you look back and it's like, you remember when we didn't even have a phone system or a phone line or like email or a website? That happened. So that was dumb, you know, like.
One of the best thing about that, Marshall, is like what you guys, like, after talking to you guys just for like this 5-10 minutes, I've realized that you guys are talking about, it's something that anybody can really learn how to do it. And then you guys have gone through the drills, really figure out what's working, what's not working, get the best out of it, and design something around it, right? So I think it kind of leads into the next question, which was what inspired you guys to start coaching entrepreneurs and getting them into something like this, right?
Yeah, let me, just one thing I want to say before that, kind of to comment on what you just said before I jump to that, is I think I've been guilty of it. I think that anybody who kind of has any sort of entrepreneurial desire has been guilty of it, of like just sort of wanting to sit around and think of like the brilliant idea. And at the end of the day, like that, the idea is like 0.5% of the equation of success for almost anything. Like the number of people who, you know, ultimately become successful or build wealth just because of an idea is extremely small percentage, right? It's like some guy who invents something and then license it to somebody else to do all the actual work to make it work and make anyone want it and sell it, right? that's just not how it works. Like at the end of the day, like most successful businesses are doing something that's not revolutionary. It's just a product or a service that people are willing to pay for. And you just do it in a unique, better way with some proven systems and processes. Like that's the recipe, right? And to your point, that's what's great about this. That's what we love about it. That's even the guy that we hired to be our first employee, who then went on to build his own business. Like that was the whole thing with him. Was like, he's just an everybody, just like the rest of us are, just like me and Marshall are, right? It's like, there's no rocket science. There's no, you've got to be the best in the world at sales or marketing or anything, right? You just got to be able to follow the process and do the work. And if you do that, you will be successful. It's a pretty, there is that much demand, and we just teach you how to get in front of it in a way that the market responds to. That's the whole thing. That's what we do.
That's awesome.
And so to that point, I mean, that's one of the reasons that after we sold our business, that we really became passionate about helping other people do this. And even before selling our business, we were kind of moving down the road with franchising this business for that exact same reason. The opportunity is tremendous. It's everywhere. It's nationwide. And we've got a recipe book that has now been proven in a bunch of different cities all over the place. Let's leverage that and do something with it. Yeah. And so we thought that was going to be franchising. So that was kind of our plan. Okay. I mean, like I said, we're in the Houston, Texas area. So we met with the top franchise attorney in Houston, super smart guy. We both really liked him. And we were kind of moving down that road when we got the opportunity to sell the business for a number that was too good to pass up, frankly. And so we said, okay, well, let's do this. But we've already got the recipe book. We have the standard operating procedures. We've got the systems. We've got the marketing. We've got the software. We've got the technology. We built up a package to go offer it to people in a franchise model, right? And if we were selling this through a franchise, it would be, 50 to 100 grand down and 10% royalty or something close to that, right? So it'd be a tremendous expense to people to get started. But now, since we no longer own that business anymore, it lets us offer the same thing, but without the quote unquote franchise model anymore, right? So you get all the same marketing systems, operating procedures, blah, 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 everything I just mentioned. But it's just in a package where, our clients, they own 100% of the business. They don't have to pay us a royalty. They're not working for us, right? We train them and give them everything they need and help them build their business, and then they own it, right? They've got a great income. They've got a great asset that they can sell at some point in the future, just like we did if they want to. So it's just a pretty incredible opportunity. And that's one of the things that we love about it is that I literally don't know of anything else where we could tell anybody with any skill set, if you will follow the recipe book, I am 100% confident you will have success. I don't know anything else that's the case.
Yeah, and then the profit margins are huge, right, Marshall?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing too, is that, I mean, especially starting out, if you're doing it yourself, kind of the general industry, I guess, thought processes, for every dollar you make, 40% of it is going to labor. So if you're doing it yourself, you're paying yourself 40 cents for every dollar. And then about 20% or 20 cents of that dollar is going towards chemicals, overhead, things of that nature. And then the 40% is quote unquote margin. And so, if you're scaling and blowing up a business, great. You've got 40% margin. That's great for recurring.
Exactly. After employees and labor.
But as you get started, and this is what we recommend, is get out in the trenches, and for every dollar you make, you're keeping 80 cents of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's big. And so it's a great way to scale quickly, at least for the size, to get to where it's meaningful to someoe's life very quickly and fast. So awesome. With the margins on that, I mean, I know Ricardo's going to keep trying to move us forward, but we're not going to let him. So it's like,
that's
sorry about it. Hope you don't have a doctor's appointment or something, but I mean, to the point of why we do this, I mean, part of it is, we didn't sit down and go, hey, we want to do this. We were just running our businesses or
Mm-hmm.
our business, and people would come to us and, hey, I want to, you know, I would just get random calls from someone, you know, it started off being friends, right? Hey, I'm
Mm-hmm.
down on this side of town, you know, can you do this? And then it started being where, like, my sister's friend from college calls me or something random like that and is like, hey, I'm moving to, you know, West Texas or Austin or whatever, and I heard you started, like, can you help me do that? And so it was like,
Yeah.
it really just happened. And then I mean, I guess me and David kind of were like, you know, people are getting a lot of value out of, you know, how, you know, just even minimal instruction, even to more intense instruction. What if we actually tried to do this? Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's because it's cool to see people make something of yourself, and, like, I mean, just control of their own life, you know, and so it's cool to see that impact on people, and just even ourselves, you know. I spend every, you know, and even when we were full on running the company, you know, I spend every breakfast, you know, every morning with my daughters, right? I mean, and just, you
Mm.
know, that's my time that I like, is in the morning. I like, you know, kind of getting them going and all that kind of stuff, having breakfast with them, and there's no one that can tell me what to do, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that's the value. David tries, but I mean,
I gave that up a long time ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I'm too stubborn and hard headed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's amazing. Like, I mean, I like the one of the things that you talked about, it's the which is like very important. A lot of people say, well, people start these businesses or they want to do something because they want to make money, and you know that's definitely part of it. But you talked about how cool it was to see other people being successful and you being in a position to actually help them and see them being successful, and then it kind of somewhere in the, you know, you felt good about it. And then that's something
Totally.
that you can't define through money or anything like that, right? So maybe that's why the franchise model wasn't that appealing in terms of what you guys are doing now, right? Because it focuses a lot on, you know, helping other people build those things. So Marshall, I like how you broke the pieces together. 40%
Mm-hmm.
is just labor, 40% is your take home, and 20%
Mm-hmm.
is your expenses. So that's beautiful. So if somebody's thinking of starting it with employees, they know it's going to be somewhere around 30-40% that they're going to keep in their pocket, which is amazing actually. And if
Mm-hmm.
they do it themselves in the starting, it's 80%. That's great. That's huge. And then David, you talked about $150 per pool service per month, I would say.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, the average is all over the place. Some parts of the
Yeah.
country are much higher than that.
Okay.
Some parts are a little bit lower. It just makes the math easy, frankly. To
Yeah.
say if it's $150, you've got, you know, 15 to 20 bucks a month in chemicals and overhead, and then
Mhm.
everything else is take home if you're doing it yourself, or 40% of it is if you're paying an employee. 40% is still
Mm.
going to the house. So it's a good rough number, but it's an average that is true nationwide, but every specific area is kind of a little bit higher or lower. And so, side note, but one thing that we help people do is actually know how to do a market survey, how to know what you should charge in your area.
Oh, okay.
And either we can do it for you or we teach you how to do it. So
Yeah.
that's a side note, but yeah, rough numbers. That's a good
Yeah,
average.
no, that's good. And then, you know, I guess that's a good segue to kind of getting into the programs as well too. There are three different types of programs that you do. You know, I can talk about the done for you, then there's done with you, and do it yourself. Very generic, like, you know, people can understand what it means. Can you talk a little bit about each one of them? Maybe David, you can talk a little bit more about done for you, and then we can go to Marshall for the done with you.
Sure. Yeah, so to Wakar's point, like one of the things that we want to do, like with this, is we want to have an option for everybody for where they can get started, right? Because the opportunity is for everybody, and it's enormous, and it's all over the country. And so because of that, we have some people who come to us who just kind of want to dip their toe in the water and sort of see if this is a fit for them.
Mm.
We have some people who they mostly want to do it themselves, but they want, you know, just some coaching and help and get a couple of specific questions answered, things like that. And then we have some people that it's really just, hey, I want to grow this thing as big and as fast as I possibly can. And so can I just have you guys do most of it for me on the front end? And
Okay.
so that's really what the done for you option is.
Hmm.
Literally to the point, I mean, we were talking to a client yesterday, help basically picking a company name, a domain name. We're in the process of getting his website built. We're going to do all the marketing to get him his first bunch of clients. We don't know exactly where that'll end up, but if it's less than 20, I'd be shocked. And, within the next month or so.
Wow.
And then continuing on that process, I would expect he'll have 50 to 60 new clients in the next 90 days, as long as he can keep up with it. And he
Wow.
may tell us, hey, pump the brakes for a few minutes.
Wow.
So that's kind of what we see and we have options for everybody. And that, like I said, that's how big the opportunity is. So if somebody just wants to come in and learn the ropes and figure it out themselves, following our exact recipe book, we've got an option for that.
Yeah.
But if somebody's ready to go, they know this is what they want to do, and they see it as an opportunity. And what's the shortcut? The shortcut is we've got a great team already. Just let our team do the first part for you. Let
Yeah.
us get you your first bunch of clients, and we even guarantee it. But that's a side note.
Okay.
Like with all of that, I mean, that's really it. Is the opportunities there? And we tell people all the time. You will have 100% of what you need in each of the 3 packages. It's not like we're holding the secret sauce out of the do-it-yourself option. You'll have
Mm.
100% of what you need. What you would, if you would decide you wanted one of the other options, it's really so you get our hands on help, and it's really you're buying speed. That's what that's the choice that you're making.
Yeah.
I'll spend a little more money so I can save a lot more time.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. So from what I understand, done for you is literally you have a whole team. You're working with them. You're getting them, setting everything's up for them, guiding them through the process. Anywhere they get into a problem, you guys help them out, take care of it. I know there's direct coaching as well too, right? You guys go on one with these guys, and you kind of help them through and everything. So that's done for you in bigger perspective, right? And then
Mhm.
the done with you would be, Marshall, very similar. However, what's the main difference, you'd say?
I mean, it's for someone that doesn't necessarily want the one-on-one, but wants a little bit more hand-holding with you. And really how I look at it is I think the value we see in it is, guys and girls in that program, they still have access, so they can send questions in, they can text questions in, and
Mm,
we jump on a phone call and we tackle those together. And so it's
nice.
really helpful for the people in those programs that we've found, because when you're starting a business, if you've never started a business before, or maybe you have, you do things and they work or they don't work, but you don't even know if that was right or wrong, right? I mean,
Mm,
because you can't cover the millions of things that happen in the business.
true.
There's no program that does that. Anyone that says they do, it's not true. So it's nice to go, hey, I did this. And then someone else, did anyone else have an issue with that? Or is anyone, did you guys ever have an issue with that? And it's like, oh yeah,
Mm,
that's, that happens all the time, right? And
yeah.
just kind of having a little bit of that, where it's just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm on the right path, or this is a hard hurdle to get over,
Yeah.
but that's normal. Like, just hearing that it's normal is super
Exactly.
helpful. And I think me and David talk about it. It's like, if we would have had, we looked when we started our business for a program like this, and there was none. Unless
Oh,
you wanted to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on this super expensive franchise and do all of that, there wasn't any help available. And so
yeah.
it was just like, hey, go get started. And so we would do things, and all we heard was industry things that people would tell us, which were all wrong, if I'm honest.
Mm,
I mean, everything they said wouldn't worked, and the vice versa. And so it would have been nice for someone who had done it before just to
mm,
go, yeah, that I dealt with that too. That's just the way it is. Or you're growing, enjoy the growing. This is the hard part. You're climbing the hill. And if you wait 2 more weeks, your life's going to feel differently. Right.
Yeah.
And just hearing that's helpful to people. And so the done with you is helpful in that sense. You
Yeah.
know, the do it yourself, obviously, like there's some people, it doesn't matter how much investment they have or, you know, what you do for them, they're just going to do it their way and do it
Okay.
themselves. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's great. And
Yeah.
so, you know, that's probably me. David's
Okay.
more like bring in the team and, you know, and I'm just like, I'm smarter than everybody else, which, you know, you know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
isn't, that's not a strength, that's a weakness. Right. And so, you know, and so, but there are just some people that naturally, they can go at their own pace. You know,
Yeah.
they can get started. It's not as regimented. Maybe they want to just start something on the side, and not be forced to get something going right away. And just like, hey, this is something I really want to have happen over 6 months, maybe.
Yeah.
So I can kind of take it in small bites, right?
Okay.
That could be a better fit for the do it yourself or the even the done with you.
Yeah.
Um,
And for do it yourself, do you still connect with them? Like if they want to send you an email or something, like how does that work? Is there support, or they usually don't need any support because everything's in there?
I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, we literally give templates and I mean, handbooks and things. I mean, like job postings if they're scaling that we actually used. I mean, these aren't things that we were like, hey, let's go find some cookie cutter thing. These are
Okay.
actual things that we used. And so to do it yourself, I mean, we have a support email and all that. You know,
Okay.
people have
Good.
questions and stuff always.
They can.
You know, people aren't high and dry or anything like that.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're looking for kind of an interactive approach, the do it yourself isn't where you need to be.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
they can do you give them upgrades if they start with do it yourself and they're like, you know what, do it yourself is great, but now I think maybe I want some group coaching and everything, which you kind of do it in the done with you, and then for one-on-one coaching and done for you. Do you allow them to kind of like go up to the next level?
yeah, I mean, and we even kind of, I mean, that's kind of what we even sometimes tell people is like, get your feet in, get them
Yeah.
wet, like, and see, frankly, I mean, wow, there's a lot of stuff here. You know, anybody can go out and start their own full business.
Mm,
And if they're willing to take 2 to 5 years to get it going, they'll get it going.
yeah.
You know, David mentioned it. All our competition that was as big as us was 40, 50 years old. So they
Wow.
can do it. It's just a matter of time. And so when you kind of get into it and you go, okay, I'm getting some success, this works, but I'm already busy. Like that's the nice thing of the done for you is that basically a lot of the things that push the business forward,
Mm-hmm.
we are doing those in the background for you so that you go out and you get, you know, the sales or get the clients and interact with the clients. And we just drive clients to you.
That's
And
awesome.
so that's really kind of the difference. And so sometimes, absolutely, if people want to, you know, kind of get started in one and then go, okay, let's just kind of test the waters, if you will, and then
Yeah.
go, you know, I'm ready to make the investment to actually be a business, then they can do that.
That's awesome. Well, so Marshall, I know one of the features about your program is you talk about the preferred partner program. That's something that you offer in the program as well too, right? Can you speak a little bit about that and what are the benefits?
Yeah, there's actually a couple levels of benefits to that program. And so basically, if you come into our program, you get thrown into it, you get access. We have distribution set up across
Mm-hmm.
all the United States with one of the biggest distributors of pool equipment, chemicals, things of that nature in the world. And what we've agreed to them with is like that you can go in and use Smart Pool Startup's account number and you get wholesale pricing. And so
Nice.
that pricing is better than what we got when we started. And it's nationally, I guess, negotiated pricing. And so whether you're in Salt Lake City or Tampa Bay, Florida, you can go in to a location, put our account number in, and they'll say, oh, you're with Smart Pool Startup. Absolutely. And so it's it's super helpful getting started because, you know, whereas maybe a normal bucket of chemicals, if you went into the pool store, would be $150, $160. The guy next to you might check out, you put the code in and it's going to be $80 or
Wow.
something like that, close to it, just kind of
Yeah.
give or take. You know, just because it's chemicals, it's all changing. And so a massive just purchasing power right off the bat. For the people in the Done For You program, there's actually something that we set up not too long ago that, you know, we do make it exclusive because the value is so tremendous, but you can go into one of these stores that have, like I said, they have, David, like 900 locations across all the United States,
close
maybe
to that,
1,000. And you become their preferred local business. And so they don't actually do cleaning themselves. They just do chemicals, but they get a lot of foot traffic for people that are interested in that.
Yeah.
And so you go in there and basically they're like, hey, you know, a client comes in and is like, hey, I need someone to clean my pool. And you're like, okay, well, have you bought this? And it's like, no, I don't really want to buy anything. I want someone to do it for me.
Yeah.
And since our partners are buying at the location, it's not a conflict of interest. And so they go, okay, well, here's the business card of Lacar's Pool Service. Give them a call. And that's free. Like there's no cost to that to them.
Nice.
Example, like there's a guy in the program that he does a location in he's just like a suburb of a major city, and he got over 100 clients from it just last year. And so I mean that itself is worth, I mean, is weight in gold, right? I mean, and so it's like you know, and so you know, you got to go in there and, you know, just show face every once in a while, which you'll be doing because you're buying chemicals and everything anyways.
Yes.
And just anytime anyone has a question or needs a little bit more, you know, help at that, they just refer it out. And
That's awesome.
And then that's your client.
Yeah.
And they have no issue with that. And they actually incentivize, when I say incentivize, like they're trying to build these programs, and they've partnered with Smart Pool Startup as one of their preferred vendors in each location.
Yeah.
And in the Done For You, like we walk through all that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and it is great because I think if anybody, like even for myself, right, if like I start any business, one of the biggest roadblocks that I would have is because I don't know how the future is going to look like, so I'm kind of scared that am I going to get enough clients? That's really one of the biggest issues, right? Maybe a lot of people start this and then they just can't get enough clients. So David, can you speak about that just a little bit? I know you talk about getting a certain amount of clients with your program.
Yeah.
You're very confident of getting X amount of clients within 90 days, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I think exactly to your point, if the fear is you can't get clients, if we're going statistically, if you're going to try to just get out there and wing it and get clients from who knows where, that's true. That should be your concern. You probably will struggle, sadly, but I mean, that's what we see. So there's a story. It's the fact that this happened is so funny to me. So we, as our business grew, you know, so we went from, in a very short order, we went from, you know, no vehicles to, you know, literally using my truck like for a couple hours a week to my personal truck. Went from no vehicles to one vehicle to 3 vehicles to 5 to 10 to 12. You know, as the business grew, our issue became we were running out of like storage and parking space everywhere that we were officing out of. And so we decided quickly that we were going to make the actual mailing address of the business, you know, where all of our clients sent checks if they were on check payment as opposed to credit card. We were going to use a UPS store box for that. Because we over the course of, gosh, I'd have to go back and count. It was like over the course of 3 years, we had to move the shop 5 times because the business was growing so fast. And so we decided from day one, the last thing we want to do is like every 6 months have to call all of our clients and tell them to send their payment to another address, right? Like no one's going to be happy about that. We aren't and they aren't. so we decided very early on to like just use a UPS store box for our mailing address. And so, you know, one day I would go in like once a week and check the mail, get the checks, blah, blah, blah. So I went in one day, get the check. I got the stack of envelopes, you know, going through, opening them, getting the stack of checks ready to go to the bank to deposit. I didn't even notice. I just opened the check and pulled it out. And I looked at it, and it was from a name I didn't recognize. Like, it wasn't a client of ours. And then I looked at it, and it was made out to a different pool company. So I was like, why does this name not sound familiar? Oh, it's because it's not our check. That's why. So, you know, lo and behold, find out after, you know, asking the guy behind the counter at the UPS store, who is this? He said, oh, that's this other pool company. They are in the box 2 down from your box. I said, oh my gosh, what are the odds of that? Like, 2 pool companies with pretty similar names, 2 boxes down at the same UPS store. It's like, it's really weird. So anyway, so I call find the business listing, call the guy. I said, hey, I've got a check here for you. I can leave it in your box here at the UPS store, or I can, or I can mail it to you. What do you want me to do? Or you meet you somewhere and bring it to you, whatever. So I ended up talking to him for a few minutes in the process. At the time, you know, we were kind of feeling out. I think we were about 18 months old at the time. And I said, okay, he said he's been doing it for 8 years. Let's see if we can learn something, right? Tell me, what are you doing? So, you know, in the course of this conversation, he said, oh yeah, we've been doing this about 8 years. You know, we've got about 80 accounts, so we're doing pretty good. We're happy. And I was trying kind of hard to not bite my tongue, because he's 8 years old and we're 18 months old, right?
Yeah.
And we had like 120 accounts and he had 80.
Wow.
And we'd done it in, what is that, a fourth or a fifth of the time that he'd been around. And so it was this weird situation where I kind of went into it, you know, I was kind of, okay, maybe I can learn something. And then on the other side, oh, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe we buy this company down the road one day. And then we find out that we're significantly younger than they are, but we are significantly larger than they are. And so that variations of that, not that hilarious, like it wasn't it wasn't literally sitting in our mailbox, but variations of that have kind of happened over the years, where we find a company, oh, that's a good sized company, that's interesting, let's talk to them, or let's look them up. Oh, they're 25 years old, cool. Wow. You know, we're the same size or bigger than they are, and we're 3.5 years old. So that really happened over and over again. And so what we found out kind of over the course of doing this is we had a kind of a marketing and a growth plan, and we could frankly add clients on demand, and no one else could. I mean, that's what we've seen. There to the time when we sold the business, and that's one of the reasons that the guys who bought our business, one of the things they were buying was a system that consistently spits out new clients, and no one else has that, and that's what we have, right? And so to Marshall's point earlier, that's what we deliver to people. Like, we give you a system to generate new clients on demand, and you'll be the only person in your geographic area who has it. No one else has it. No one else can do that. And that's why when we say that the opportunity is tremendous, there's so many layers to that, right? There's so many layers because, one, there's a tremendous number of pools. That's one reason the opportunity is tremendous. The other reason is because the market is not very sophisticated, and they're not very good at sales and marketing. And so if we give you systems to do that and processes to do that, and we give you the systems to actually manage and run a big successful business, because they don't have that either, that you can scale as big and as fast and as far as you want to scale. Wow. And so that's when we say the opportunity is tremendous, I mean, there's so many layers to that, which is why we were looking at franchising, because that's true everywhere. Yeah. And so I just to kind of circle back to your question initially, if someone's just going to try to kind of like figure it out and figure out how to get their own clients, you should be concerned. You probably will struggle. The average, what we see, like, so that the 80 pools in 8 years that guy had, that seems to be about the average. That's what we see is you'll pick up about 10 accounts a year of friends, or someone sees your name on the side of your truck and calls you or whatever. And so I think that's what you should expect if you're not going to either get our marketing plans and systems, or going to go try to recreate one and, you know, wing it and build one yourself, that's what you should expect. You'll get about 10 clients a year, just kind of by default. But if you want to grow significantly, if you want to grow 10 or 20 clients a month, consistently month after month, that's not going to happen on its own. That will only happen with a proven process. And that's what we give you.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then I know in your program, you talk about a lot of different marketing techniques as well, too. Marshall, I know we talked a while back about direct marketing, and you guys do that. And, you know, we came across, we were talking about it, doing direct marketing. A lot of people think it's old school versus SEOs or maybe Facebook ads and stuff. What are your thoughts? I know you have a lot to say about that. It's worked really, really well for
Yeah,
you
I mean,
guys.
David's actually the guru, if you will, on
Okay,
that.
so
But here's what I'd say is that I'm probably, it's helpful because I wouldn't say I was a non-believer, but you know, I was the guy that's on the other side of the podium going, is this all going to work, right? Like, is
okay,
this something that it matters, or you know, like, we need to be on Facebook. We need to be on, you know,
yeah,
like, this is what, and this is where I said earlier, like, the industry kept telling us, oh no, that doesn't work, or this doesn't work, or that. And David was like, I mean, you know, I can brag about David because, you know, it just sounds like too
yeah,
cocky if he says it, but it's like, David's just kind of like, they're wrong, right? Like, they're just
yeah.
wrong.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, but they might be right, and they know more about you. Well, they didn't. They didn't know more than David. And so, you know, just kind of seeing it and living it. You know, the market, it's hard. It's easy to say something, but like, oh, something works. But what's probably one of the most valuable things about the program is, like, the mail piece that we use that got over 2.5, maybe even over $3 million worth of sales.
Wow.
We have just, you can download in the program. I mean, you can just go into the module that it's in and download it. And if that's all you want to do, you
Yeah.
can probably build a $600,000, $700,000 business in what, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, something like
Damn.
that, you know. And so, like, and I would not believe that if I wasn't the skeptic and
Okay.
okay. So,
Yeah.
and frankly, I mean, beyond that, like, I mean, David's done tens of millions of mail pieces in his life, just over a lot of different things, but even in our business. And it's like, you know, people that we work with that do that, and they're like, okay, yeah, I know that it's good, but I can make it better. You know, like they download it and they tinker with it. You know, like I told you, the tinkerers. It
Yeah.
doesn't do as well. It's like, yeah, I know, we tried that too. Like, it's not like we're smarter than you on it. It's just, we've actually tested it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, we've seen it. It's not like, hey, we you know, got on that whiteboard behind David and like just came up with a lot of catchy things.
Yeah.
We spent our own money, put it out into the market, and let the market determine what they want. Okay, they like this, they think this works. Okay, great. And that's really what direct response is
Okay.
you spend the money, you take the effort, and you just throw it all out there, and then the market tells you what they want. And so that's what we've done. And so that's like the simplest way I can put it. But it's just like, and then you go, okay, well, they like this, let's do more of this. And so what we've done in the program is that being tested across states, across cities, across different areas, different people, different everything. It works in whatever place it is. And so it's not a matter of, hey, we think it's a great idea. We've spent the money to make sure it's a great idea.
That's awesome.
That's the value.
Yeah. No,
Well,
thanks
sorry,
for speaking.
let me throw one thing on that too,
Exactly.
just
I
to
was
kind
gonna
of
say,
add.
what can you add?
Well, it's just one thing. I think, like you mentioned, direct marketing. I mean, we're in this case specifically talking about direct mail,
Okay.
which, yeah, a lot of people think, oh yeah, that doesn't work, or that's old or whatever. I mean, there is not a Fortune 500 company that is not spending a significant amount of money in direct mail. period.
Wow.
Um, Google, so a lot of people don't know this. If when Google is trying to get new businesses to advertise with them, they're
Mhm.
sending direct mail to make those sales. That's where they're coming from.
Oh,
That is what they do. It's hilarious.
wow.
And so a lot of people don't know that, but it's tremendous. I mean, Google probably spends 100 million a year on direct mail. They're not doing that because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
If anybody knows data, it's them. So I say that to say, like our program, we have turnkey templates and systems to help people grow their business. And some of those are online, some of those are offline. Some of those are expensive, on the expensive side, relatively speaking, like direct mail. Some of them are totally free.
Wow.
And so wherever somebody's kind of budget for what they want to invest to grow their business, there's an option to do that that's free. Now, free might take a little longer, frankly. There's inexpensive, which you can scale with inexpensive as big as you want to go. And then there's expensive but fast and on demand. And our program and our approach and the way we built our own business is not one of those. It's you want all of them. You want a free channel. You want an expensive channel that consistently works. You want inexpensive. There's room for all of that in the business. Because that being able to do all of those things, the combination of all of those things is that we give you exact templates and processes for on all of those sides. I mean, that's the reason you can grow on demand as big as you want to grow and as fast as you want to grow, is because we have pieces. Like I said, I think that's the best way to think about it personally, is you got free, you've got inexpensive, and you've got expensive, quote unquote, but expensive is relative.
Yeah.
Way less expensive than buying a route, buying an account if somebody was going to get in this business. So you want all of those things working for you,
Exactly.
as long as you know they work. And
Yeah.
to Marshall's exact point, the only things we give you are what work. If we were going to give you everything that we tested that didn't work, the course would be 5 times as long as it is.
Yeah.
And a fifth of valuable.
Oh, not
Yeah,
what
that's
not
right.
to do, basically.
That's
Right.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot more stuff that doesn't work than does, and we just
Yeah.
ruled all that out for you because we already spent our money and wasted
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
now we just give you the recipe book.
Yeah, no, and then that's true. And Marshall, because of that, your course is a certain length, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? And do you think that within that length, these guys are really going to rock it after that?
Yeah, I mean, generally, like with the done for you, again, it kind of depends on, like, obviously, if you're doing it all yourself, the course is up to you. You know, what we see to kind of an ambitious goal that we do with the done for you is 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Okay.
I mean, and so like if we're doing the done for you, you know, you've got just initial setup. You got to get things like a name of a company, right? Like just little
Yeah.
things, you know, some people, it will take them 2 years to come up with a name. Don't do
Wow.
that. Don't be that guy. You'll never
Yeah.
get anything done. Some people can make decisions quickly. With the accountability, what's nice about that is, you know, everything's got deadlines, right? So it's like, you gotta get this going, or it's not gonna, you're just never gonna get there. And so we really see like about 3 months for the material itself. But frankly, even with the kind of the 6 to 8 week marks, those are really more geared towards people that might be a little bit further down the road, because it's the scaling stuff.
Yeah.
So once you've got a fleet of trucks or whatnot, we want to give you all the tools that you need for that, but you probably aren't going to be ready for that even year one.
Okay.
You know, managing 1 or 2 trucks is different than managing the 10 to 15 trucks that we have, right? So, I mean, it's like, it's just a different thing, but you can always come back to the program. And that's why I say it's like the initial surge is 6 to 8 weeks, but it is material that you could revisit, you know, forever. I mean, because there's some things that you'll just hit certain, once I get to $500,000, $600,000 in revenue, some of these other tools make more sense. And so actually with saying that, what I'm saying is you can get going even quicker if you want to. It's just, that's kind of the time frame that like we do with the coaching and things of that nature at this point.
Fair enough. And so, yeah, I mean, 6 to 8 weeks, you're saying literally that the amount of content, you've got the content for 6 to 8 weeks that they can go through, but
Yeah,
probably by
they can access the content whenever.
Yeah, it's
forever.
lifetime
Yeah.
But
access.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, as far as with the coaching, like we go along with it and we walk them through it and accountability and things of that nature
Yeah.
over them
And
too.
accountability is good because, right, you kind of keep them in lane, push, consult, advise, tell them what to do, what's not working, what's not working. So it seems like really somewhere around middle of the program, maybe 3, 4 weeks, they should start seeing really, really good results coming in for them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess that kind of goes into the next question. I know it's definitely hard to tell, but what would you say is like, how long does it take to get an ROI with the business for most of your students?
Yeah, I think so. One thing to keep in mind, I think it's easy to forget because I think it's natural to think, oh, everybody wants to, make $5 million a year, which
Yeah,
is sure it sounds good, but if we're honest, most people don't actually want that. If you think about like what it's going to take to do that, we have students who come in the door who don't know anything about pools, and 9 to 12 months in, they're netting 80 to 100 grand a year.
wow.
And a lot of people are very happy at that level because, I mean, practically think about it, right? It's
Yeah,
like if you're making 90 grand a year, you're your own boss. You don't have to report at any given time to anybody. Yeah, you have commitments to clients. You got stuff that has to be done, but you control your own schedule. You're not stuck in a cubicle. You're not. I mean, that's a great life. A lot of people are very happy with that. I make good
yeah,
money. I control my own schedule, and I don't have a boss, and I don't have to be stuck in an office.
yeah,
That's what most people want. And so we have students who come in, and that's their desire, at least early on.
yeah,
And then at some point down the road, they may decide they want more than that. 6 months in, a year in, whatever, and that's great. If they want to go to the next level, they've got the material to do that.
yeah.
And then we have other people who come in who they're already successful in whatever they're doing. Maybe they own
Hmm.
another business, or maybe that we've had pro athletes, retired pro athletes who are looking for their next ventures. And so it could be something like that where they're
Hmm.
already coming in, they've already proven that they have a set level of kind of expectations and success in their mind, and for them in their mind, if they don't net 500 grand a year from this business 3 years in, it's a failure. And so we
Hmm.
have clients who come in with very different goal levels. And so I think that's probably the way that I would think about it is with 100% confidence, I can say, if you come in and follow the program, and like if you're not netting 80 to 100 grand a year, 12 months in, you did something wrong, and we're here.
Wow.
We're here to answer.
Yeah,
But the material's there. It's proof. Our students have proven that over and over again in multiple different areas, multiple different cities.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and then beyond that, if you want to scale that, you want to build a team, which again, some people do and some people don't. I will never fault somebody for wanting a lifestyle business making 6 figures. I will
Yeah.
not fault anybody for that. That's a great
Hmm.
life. Um, but if somebody wants to go, okay, I want to make 300, I want to make 400, I want to make 500 grand a year, the recipe's there. It's just more of the same. And to Marshall's point, some of the more advanced modules are about really how to have a business infrastructure that can support that. And
Hmm.
we built our business to over 7 figures in 3.5 years, and we have students who are doing that as well. And so
Awesome.
that level of success is there. But if somebody wants to make 300-400 grand a year, 500 grand a year or more, it's we can't do that in 3 months. Sorry.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, definitely.
it
I,
takes some time to build the team, to build the
To build a
infrastructure.
real business.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
However,
it's totally based on people's goals.
I think
But
80 to 100 is reasonably good. I think it's even more than what people would expect from a first business that they start or an initial business that they start, right? I'm sure I'd be pretty happy with it, and I'm sure most
well,
of the people would be,
to
right?
your point, like the national average is most small businesses don't even turn a profit for the first 3 years.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
that's the national average according to Forbes and the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
That has never happened
Yeah.
with any of our
And
students. Like
and,
that
and
is, I would be massively frustrated if I was that person
yeah,
in that situation.
yeah, yeah.
So
And then
it's
obviously they
we
don't
don't
have
have
to worry
students
about
doing
it.
that. We're hitting profitability. Literally, we're hitting profitability like in 6 weeks, and then
Nice.
massive profits, 6-figure profits, 12 months in.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
it's a
No,
very
that's
different thing.
No, that's thank you for sharing that. And then it kind of also, you guys talked about time commitment too. Like if I'm kind of managing it by myself, I'm my own employee and everything, and I'm just one person, solo person doing, what kind of time commitment would I want to look at if I'm looking at a 80 to $100,000 business, and then for first year, I guess on a weekly basis or monthly basis.
I'd say by the end of that, so
Hmm.
12 months in,
Hmm.
when you are at kind of the 80 to 100 grand a year level, it's like it's probably going to be 35, 40 hours a week at that point, or close to
Wow,
it.
that's awesome.
Um, by the end, I
Hmm.
mean, we're not talking 70 or 80 hours a week by any means.
Yeah.
So that's probably what you're looking at.
Hmm.
And then, of course, if you're building out a team, it could be less than that. I think at peak, Marshall and I combined, when we were doing well over 7 figures, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accounts.
Hmm.
I think combined, we were probably spending 20 hours a week between the two
Whoa.
of us.
Wow.
But I mean, that
Yeah, I mean,
didn't happen
and
overnight.
that's,
We
I
built to
mean,
that, right? Like that
we
was the point.
we had no ambition. When we started the business, we weren't going to sell the business. It's just
Okay.
someone gives you a lot of money, you take it, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and that's why we're still in this. I mean, because like we still work with that company. I mean,
Yeah.
we are still a part of that company. They wanted to keep us on board, so we just, we actually work even less for
Yeah.
it than we did. But yeah, I mean, and so it's like, that's kind of how we structured it. And if you can do it, some people don't want, I mean, some people like getting outside and doing all that. And then,
Yeah.
frankly, I mean, summer, you can have the 40-hour weeks, but that same 40-hour work week come, let's say like September, October, it might be 20 hours a week. I mean,
Yeah.
it just kind of depends. It's, there's a little bit of quote unquote seasonality to the time, just because, and it's not even a matter of revenue. It's just a matter of leaves falling,
Okay.
or, the sun,
Yeah.
causing a little bit more, time put into it. So, it's, it can, there's in the industry, for anyone outside, there's kind of an adage of it being a lifestyle business, because you can kind of show up when you want, you can leave what you want, as long as you do
Yeah.
your thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to be the guy that builds a successful big company, you get out what you put in.
Yes.
I mean,
Of
that's
course.
at the end of the day.
Of
But
course.
if, like David said, if you want to make 6 figures and kind of do what you want, you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
Yeah. No,
but I mean,
that
I want to make it clear, like what we're not doing is like this 3 a.m. infomercial of, hey, for 2 hours a day, once a year, you can make $800 billion, like,
yeah,
and all
no.
those claims. Like, this is a real business that's
Yeah.
local. You'll be, in your community, people will know you, things of that nature. Like, it's a real business opportunity, not a, some weird thing that, like, I don't even,
Yeah.
I've seen it all. So
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I love the terminology that you use, like the lifestyle business. This is a lifestyle business, which is great because I think people are very open to working 40 to 50 hours a week to establish a business like that. And maybe even if they have to put more work in, as you said, the more work you put in, the more reward you'll get out of it. So it's obviously always encouraging and it's rewarding for you to kind of balance that out and then scale your business accordingly to that level, right? So
plus you're in
Right,
really
and you
sweet
don't start there.
backyards, and
yeah, exactly.
Well, and you don't start there, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't go from 0 to 40 hours a week like
Hmm.
in one jump, right? This is not
Yeah.
basically changing a job. I
Yeah.
mean, so literally when we started our company, Marshall had a full-time job. I had another business.
Hmm.
Um, our employee he was working full-time at TGI Fridays, and he was going to school part-time in the evenings. So we literally started with 2-3 hours a week.
Mm.
And then as the business grows, as you become more profitable, it buys more of your time and attention. and
Yeah.
then you grow from there. That's the way, not just this business, that's the way any business
Any
works,
business
right?
works. Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
And to that point, it's not often, because we generally kind of, frankly, weed these people out, but like, we occasionally have people come and say, oh yeah, I want to make 100 grand a year, next year from this business. But I mean, I've got like 5 minutes a week right now I can put in.
No.
And I say, I'm sorry, like, it's, you can, if you don't have 2 or 3 hours a week to move towards your goals in life, in financial or business or whatever else, like, if you don't have 2 or 3 hours a week to put towards your goals, they're not actually your goals, right? You don't
Yeah.
actually want to do anything else.
Yeah.
Or if you really do, then it's time to make a change in your life. It's time to, like, you're never going to get where you want to go if you have no time, effort, or attention to put towards it. So whether it's this or something else, I mean, there are a lot of great opportunities. This just happens to be a great opportunity that we've done and know about and helped other people do.
Yeah.
But whether it's this or any incredible opportunity, it's like, if you want to get where you're trying to go, it's going to take some time. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It doesn't have to be miserable time. You shouldn't hate what you're doing, but I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time and effort to get where you want to go. And so
Yeah.
spend it going somewhere you want to go instead of somewhere you don't want to go.
Yeah, no, that's very well put. Actually, it also talks about the other question I was going to ask you, because a lot of people probably are like, hey, what if this program doesn't work for me? What if I fail? But like, for so much, as far as what you've shared so far, it seems like you got to be a genius to fail at it, really, right? I mean, isn't it true? Like, I mean, you gotta, if they follow everything that you tell them, like, they got to be super genius to not, still fail, right? It's really, really good program the way you've built it. Can you speak to that,
Yeah,
Marshall?
I'll jump in and I'll let Marshall add to it. He's a man.
Yeah,
I mean, to be frank, I've never seen anybody fail at it. So
Okay, good.
I don't know.
Yeah, see,
I don't know
I
what to
love that
say.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Marshall,
that.
what do you think?
No, I mean, that's,
Same
yeah, I
thing.
mean, it's just not something we see. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the failure is effort. I mean, if it's people that, basically just want everything handed to them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, hey, just pay me for being me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to actually go out and talk to a client to get them to sign up for, like, hey, we send you a bunch of leads and you don't ever answer the phone. Well, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but if you've taken this step and you've gotten to this point, that's why it's like, we don't see that, because, you wouldn't be here if that's what your
Exactly.
mindset was.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome. Obviously, yeah, if people are putting the effort in to really reach out to you and then start something like this, then definitely they have the right willingness to kind of be successful in this.
That's
So
right.
that's true. And then I know you both talked about, you had like so many people, you friends, or cousin's friend, who wanted to, learn this business. So it seems like you've helped a lot of students, and can you speak to that? Like, how many students have you worked with? How's the program like right now? What stage is it in? And XYZ.
Marshall,
Marshall.
you want to jump on that? I may weigh in a minute.
Yeah.
If I interrupt
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
sorry.
no, I mean, I think I don't frankly have a number off the top of my head. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that I think, I mean, here's what I know is, like, the people that we work with, like, I mean, we were talking with a guy yesterday, and I mean, he's going through the program. Me and David kind of laughed. It was like, he was trying to pay us before he was even supposed to pay us. He's like, hey, can I just go ahead and give you the rest of y'all's
Wow.
money? Like, and I say that more just in a way of, like, I mean, I think we measure more from, like, it actually impacting people. And so we've seen, I mean, we've seen it work everywhere, right? Like, and
Yeah.
we've seen it, but we keep relationships with some people too. And so, like, it's not even just, what we get a lot is like, hey, down the road, right? Like, hey, I've now hit another threshold. I know this is different than the program, but can you help me get into something that, like, grow into a different way, or whatever it may be. And so, but as far as kind of all that goes, I mean, there's no absent of opportunity of people willing to and wanting to make something better of themselves. So it's, I think David would agree. It was pretty astonishing how many people have basically wanted to work with us and get
Wow.
like interested in things of that nature. And so it's encouraging, you know, and you know, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like we're humbled by it, but I mean, it's, you know, it's like, I mean, it's also, you know, we're ready to work with more people. There's always something. It's an ability for us. We were working on someone's brand the other day, and I don't know about David, but I was like, man, I kind of wish we would have named ourselves that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's just kind of fun. You know,
Yeah.
it's just fun to kind of do that. So
That's awesome. It's like you're starting your business again, right?
absolutely,
Start,
every
right?
time
Every time.
it's starting another business.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes we never hear from people again, and like I'll randomly Google them, and I'm like, oh, they're still around, and it looks like they're doing pretty
Doing
well.
really
So,
good.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's like, you know, you see reviews or whatever from people, and it's like it's pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so that kind of actually pretty much answers my question. And you talked about you know, you got success from so many of these guys. It seems like you're very confident, like no matter who comes into the program, they have the right willingness, they want to do this. You can really just get them going and then get them started and put them in a place where they're successful, right? David?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in real
Yeah.
quick, Dave. I mean, just there's one thought. You know, it's always good to be confident in yourself, but I think our confidence comes from success that we've seen, and then just it's not even so much confident as in it's just statistically it works, right? Like, so
Yeah.
someone does this and puts this effort in and goes through this much of the program or all of the program, they're successful, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and so it's not even so much confidence, it's just stating what happens, right? I
Mm.
mean, and so it's kind of like, I mean, is it confident to confirm that the sky is blue? No, it's just the sky's blue, right? So like people come into the program, you know, they put the effort in, they use the material, it's been used millions of times, it works, right? It just does.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily, I mean, yeah, we put a lot of effort and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it speaks for itself when it works. So
Yeah.
It's a recipe book. If you follow the recipe, you get
yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
trying to cook. That's
Yeah.
what it
if you're
comes
trying
down to.
to, you follow
Yeah.
a chicken Parmesan recipe, you don't end up with like steak. So, I mean, it
Yeah.
just, you just do it, and it does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, I guess my final question just for both of you would be, you know, can you speak a little bit about, like, there's so many people who probably are going to watch this that would want to be part of your program. They're interested in being part of your program. Anything that you would want to tell them, because a lot of us, even, you know, anybody, when I start something new, I kind of have that cold feet where I'm like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And then you probably must have talked to a lot of people who kind of were in that boat, right? So is there anything that you would want to say to them? Because I'm sure they'll know how good you guys are doing and what results you're getting. But anything, the last few words, David, I'll start with you.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's this or anything else, like starting anything new is always a little bit scary. It just is. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done it at this point 10 times in my life, and there's still a little bit, there's always some nerves. There's always some, okay, I've seen this work for a bunch of other people. Is this going to actually work for me? Like
Hmm.
there's always a little bit of that fear. Like and by the way, it doesn't go away. So like, don't think that you're going to outgrow it at some point in your life, because you're not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's human nature more than it is anything else, right? I mean, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
And so the reason, I mean, we've got multiple options for a reason, right? The reality is this is a tremendously big opportunity, and frankly, this is as a side, one of the things that we want to do with part of this program is we're helping to professionalize the whole industry by
Mm.
training and sending out pool pros and not quote unquote the pool guy, right? Like we don't train pool guys, we train pool pros.
Mm.
And so like with that, that's one of the things that we're doing is helping to raise the standard of the whole industry. And so because of that, like with part of that, is like, this doesn't have to be the right opportunity for you, but if you're just looking for an opportunity and you're not sure what the right one is,
Yeah.
like dip your toe in the water, try it. That's the reason we've got 3 different options for kind of how quickly you want to join. This isn't the right business for everybody. It could work for anybody. It will work for anybody, but this is not the right business for anybody. And the nice part is, and Marshall and I mean, we lived it, is there's demand for this business once you sell it. So if you do it for 5 years and make a big pile of money and decide you don't want to do it for the rest of your life, sell it. Cash a good, nice check, and then send us a card and tell us you did. Because that's the kind of stuff we love to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's it. This is not the right opportunity for everybody, but it's an opportunity that will work for anybody. So
awesome.
for the percentage of people who are just looking for an opportunity that's real, that's consistent, a business that is not a fad, a business that's going to be here 20, 30, 40 years from now if you want it to be, this is that opportunity. This is not drop shipping. This is not like some goofy magic trick online that works for 6 months and then never works again. Like, this is a real business with real clients who would really like to pay you for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, as long as you're doing a good job in their pool, and we train you to do that. So it's a huge opportunity. It works for anybody. Decide if you want to give it a shot or not. But again, that's why we give you the opportunity to go full bore if you want to, and we'll help you grow super quick right out of the gate. Or if you want to just dip your toe in the water and see if this is the right opportunity for you, you've got that option too.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, David. Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. If you expect and want your life to look differently, whether it be, I don't want to work for somebody, I don't want, maybe I already have another business and I want to diversify my income. We get a lot of people like that on that side too.
Yeah.
There's only one way to do that, and that's, you've got to take the step. So whether you're an entrepreneur or not, I mean, talking about something and ideas are great, but at the end of the day, execution is what matters. And so you can sit around and talk about doing something for 20 years and you'll never get there. I mean, and so, I mean, that would be my thing, is like, I think a lot of people get into stuff and they go, this has got to be it. Like, this is going to be the thing that defines me.
Yeah.
And that's just not true.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it in the program. It's like, it's good to have goals, but systems are what drive us. And so you create a system, you take a step, and you go, okay, if I follow the system and I do a system, I will get good results. Does it have to be the thing that, I am now the person? No, but it can be. I mean, it absolutely can be. But if you think it's got anything, and this is a pool industry, anything, if you think it's going to be, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs, like, you just will never get there. Steve Jobs didn't start wanting to be Steve Jobs, right? I mean, he just wanted to, I need to do the next step. I need to do the next step. But you have to take the next step.
Yeah.
And so, that would be my thing, is like, definitely, you always got to think about things. You got to, make wise decisions. But if you just always are finding a reason not to do something, there's a reason not to do everything.
Oh yeah.
And so, that would be my thing. Just do it. Like Nike, I don't know if we have to pay them something for this, for that, but like, you've got to do something. At the end of the day, if you, or you're just going to have what you have, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to be the same thing, the same life, the same, schedule, whatever it may be, it will always look the same.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think one of the things that you talked about is like, just don't think that this is going to be that thing, because you're always going to find something else. And my mentor used to always say, you can do only two things at one. You can do only one thing at a time. You can either think or you can take action. So decide which one you want to do, and that's what really defines people who are successful or not successful, right? So people just take actions and then they they keep executing it.
Right.
I did say this was the last question, but I'm going to put a bonus question in there.
Oh,
Very quick bonus question. There are people. Let's just say somebody's in Michigan and they say half of the year is just snows over here. Quick answer. What would you say to them, David?
so there's not a quick answer to that, but here's my best shot. Is number one, the business is nowhere near as seasonal as people from the outside think it could be.
Yeah.
It's just not. There's two reasons for that. One, so states like that, so Michigan, if it's frozen for months of the year or whatever, those people pay for extremely expensive pool openings and closings.
Yeah.
In fall and in spring. Realistically, if that's the case, you're going to make as much money doing those in 6 months as you would servicing the pool for 12 months.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you still do some other aspects of pools, which we will help you do. Pools still need some other stuff throughout the winter. That's great. But in the meantime, yeah, cash your big checks and take a little time off if you want to. But
Yeah,
you
exactly.
get paid full time for a part-time gig is not too bad.
Yeah.
So there's that. But no, like that is more rare than most people think it is.
Okay.
Most of the Sun Belt anywhere in the country, pools are serviced for the most part year round. So it's rare to have states that are truly really hard freeze winter states that are closed for months at a time.
Yeah. I would say maybe
in most cases it's year round.
Yeah, I think most of the time probably 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 maximum. And then I was actually doing the math when you guys were talking about the figures of pool opening and pool closing. It could go all the way from $600 to $750, which is literally like 5 months, right, of
Right.
your service. So it really pays off for being shut down for that period of time, right? So yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Really appreciate that. This was awesome. I know it went really long, but I had a great time. But
So
hey,
did Bill.
Enjoyed it.
thank you so much. All right. I'm gonna